Humanitarian superpower to have a 6-month withdrawal, negotiated withdrawal from Iraq, which takes 6 months just to get out of Iraq to begin with. UN supervised election to support the Israeli and Palestinian peace movement, not the hardliners in Israel who want to keep repressing, occupying, militarizing. You think the two major nominees, the Republican Democratic Party, are going to debate that? They're part of the Washington puppet show. We want to see a Washington peace show. The majority of the people in Palestine and Israel want a two-state solution. 64% of Israelis polled just last March by Haaretz, the great Israeli newspaper, say Israeli government should negotiate with Hamas. Did you hear about that in the U.S. press? There's more freedom to challenge Israeli policies toward the Palestinians in Israel than there is in the USA. More freedom in the Knesset than there is in the Congress. I mean, what's our self-respect? $4 or $5 billion of aid and a blank check to the repression of the Palestinian people, which is radiating through the Islamic world and boomeranging against our national security. It's a matter of self-respect. The idea of 18,000 people in this country dying because they can't afford health care, shame on us. I'm going to end on this note, and this is key. The demand and the expectation level of the American people is key. If the powers that be control your expectation level and keep it low, garnished with cynicism and politics and all that, they got you. They want you to have a low expectation level. You give them a low expectation level, you demand little on them, you go for the least worst, they're going to oblige you. Now let me end on this note. Eugene Debs. We all know Eugene Debs, a great labor leader in the early 20th century. Let me see how many people know that. Okay. Eugene Debs, he was the kind of leader when he went to Chicago to address people, 200,000 people showed up in the field. That's pretty good. Now, he was asked at the end of his career, what's your principal regret, by a reporter? He says, my regret is that under the Constitution, the American people can have almost anything they want. But alas, it seems like they don't want much of anything at all. Now, let me show you the difference between Western Europe and the U.S. 1945, the U.S., colossus in the world. Most prosperous, biggest economy, biggest military. Europe, rubble, desolation, devastation. And watch the difference. Because people in Europe demanded and wanted, here's what they got, which we to this day do not have by law in America. You may have some contracts with labor unions, we don't have it by law. They demanded a living wage, and they got it. They demanded laws that allowed them to form strong trade unions, and they got it. They demanded universal health care, and they got it. They demanded 4 to 6 weeks paid vacation by law, and they got it. They demanded decent public transit, and they got it. They demanded paid maternity leave, and they got it. They demanded paid family sick leave, and some of them got it for over a year in places like the Netherlands. They demanded regular and decent daycare, and they got it. They demanded child care, and they got it. And we didn't demand anything like that, forcefully enough to get it in the most prosperous country in the world. And if we don't have fire in our belly to animate what's in our minds and what we know this country should be like, and what kind of country we want to live in, and how we want to face our children and grandchildren as our country is driven into the ground by these corporate political fascists, day after day, year after year, stripping the solutions from the shelf so they're not applied on the ground. We have so many solutions in this country, technical, social, you name it, electoral. If we don't get that fire in our belly, if we don't get functionally indignant, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And those nose-ring liberals who are tethered to this dying dynamic of the least worst of the two parties will never get anything but the least worst for the rest of their political careers. Now, I want to introduce a great lawyer from Portland, Oregon, Greg Kafoury. Let me tell you why I say he's great. he and another colleague, in 15 years of effort, shut down the Trojan nuclear power plant, and it was imploded into dust a few years later. No one else has done that in the United States of America. I'll be back for discussion after this. But also, he has a law firm. You know, there's one in almost every city where people who can't get legal representation, where they have the impossible case, Greg Kapuri case. He's worked the initiative in Oregon. He's worked the political process. He's worked the media process. He's been with us since 2000, regularly, all over the country. And he wants to share his thoughts with you briefly and mobilize you even more. And then I'll be back for a discussion.
Thank you,